Yeah, we're going to look at number 15 to start with here. Number 15, we've got 9n squared minus 41 is equal to negative 18n. Okay, so all the ones that we did yesterday, our a, our leading coefficient, the coefficient on the variable that's squared, was always 1. But we did look at how to complete the square when a is not 1. So we're going to kind of put those two things together right here with number 15. So the first step remains the same. Your variables have to be on the left side. Your constants have to be on the right side. So that means we need to do a little switcheroo here on number 15. We need to add the 18n over, and we also need to add the 41 because both of those were negative. So we have 9n squared plus 18n is equal to 41. Okay, so if we're trying to solve this by completing the square, our completing the square steps said if a was not 1, we've got to factor out that number. So we're going to factor out a 9 from the left side. So we're going to factor out a 9, so we're left with n squared plus 2n. Here's where we leave our space, is equal to 41. Okay, we go over here to the side and we're completing the square, so we divide 2 by 2 because 2 is our new b. That gives us 1. 1 squared is 1, so we're going to add 1 inside of our parentheses. But here's where something's a little bit different. Because we have that GCF of 9 in front of these parentheses, we don't add 1 to the other side. We've got to add 1 times 9 to the other side. So we've got to add 9 to the right side. When there's a GCF in front, before you add the number to the right side, you have to multiply that number by the GCF. Okay, let's keep going. So then we factor n plus 1 squared. It's plus because the 2 was positive. It's 1 because that's the number that we squared, is equal to 50. There's one other little thing that we have to do in this case before we can take the square root. We've got to get rid of that 9. So we need to divide by 9. Then we can take the square root. Then we can subtract the 1. So our answer is n equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 50 over 9. Now, I can go ahead and tell you that's not how it's going to look on the answer key. So all you need to do is check it in your calculator. Negative 1 plus the square root of 50 over 9. Store it as x. 9x squared minus 41, is that equal to negative 18x? And it is. Okay, plug it into the left side, plug it into the right side, make sure they give you the same numbers. Okay, so there are a couple more things that get added to it when a is not 1. So let's do a couple more examples to make sure we've got it. Okay, let's look at number 16. 10n squared minus 24n minus 64 equals negative 4n. Our variables need to be on the left side. Our constants need to be on the right side. So we are going to add that 4 in, and we're going to add the 64. So we have 10n squared minus 20n is equal to 64. We factor out the 10. N squared minus 2n, leave a space. It's equal to 64. Let's complete the square. Same case that we just looked at. B is now 2, so 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1, so we add 1 inside of our parentheses. What do we add to the other side? 10. Okay, so when we factor, it's in minus 1 this time because it was negative 2 squared is equal to 74. We need to divide both sides by 10. (74/10) will reduce. Those are both divisible by 2. So 37/5. Take the square root. N minus 1 is equal to plus or minus square root of 37/5. And last step, add the 1. N is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 37/5. Check it real quick. 1 plus, and you can always check the minus as well. I just always go with the plus first. Store it as x. Let's plug it in. 10x squared minus 24x minus 64. Is that equal to negative 4 times x? The numbers agree. Okay. All right. I think I've got one more scenario here. Okay, number 17, 3x squared minus 14x plus 64 is equal to 7 plus 2x squared. All right. Variables on the left side. So subtract 2x squared from both sides. Constants on the right, subtract 64 from both sides. So 3x squared minus 2x squared is x squared. Minus 14x. My a's already 1, so I'm going to go ahead and leave myself some space. Okay, and 7 minus 64, negative 57. I knew that. Negative 57. Okay, now this one's not as complicated as 15 and 16 because a is 1, so we're back to just completing the square like normal. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. So we add 49 to the left side and to the right side. We don't have anything to multiply it by because we didn't have a GCF. So we've got x minus 7 squared because it was negative 14 and we squared 7. And when we add 49 to negative 57, we get negative 8. Uh-oh. Our next step is to take the square root. What happens when we have a negative under a square root? We take it out as I. So still need the plus or minus. Negative comes out as I. Leave the 8 under there. And then we add 7 to both sides. So x equals 7 plus or minus I square roots of 8. So just like with the quadratic formula, it is possible to get imaginary answers out of completing the square. And I can check those just like I checked my other answers. But you can't leave the I out when you check the answer. You have to include the I with your answer when you're trying to check it, or it won't give you it won't work out. Okay. Okay. Exact same decimal values there, left side, right side. Okay. So I want you to practice with completing